Welcome back to the Best of Raleigh. Today's guest is someone who just gets people. We're talking with Katie McLean, private client advisor at McGriff, who was recently acquired by Marsh McLennan Agency. She helps folks protect what matters most, and she does it with heart, and you know we love that. Katie's not in it for a quick sale. She builds real relationships and listens. She's all about making sure her clients feel confident and covered no matter what life throws at them. She's smart, she's kind, she seriously knows her stuff, and I can't wait for you to hear all about this one. So let's get right to it. Katie, thank you so much for joining us today on the Best of Raleigh.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome to the Best of Raleigh with your host and real estate expert, Gretchen Coley, owner of the Coley Group. This show is all about the people and places that make the Raleigh area so special. Here's your host, Gretchen Coley.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about the thing that lots of people don't like to talk about, insurance. And, you know, in our industry, it is such an important thing. And, you know, we met through a mutual friend, Sarah Robertson.
Yes.
Introduced us. And she called me and she said, I've got to introduce you to this girl who reminds me so much of the way that you do business. You two need to know each other. And we've been fast friends ever since.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a great connection. And just the way that you focus on customer service speaks to the way I work with my clients. And that's one of my favorite things about working with you.
Well, I found that initially when we first had that first conversation. I was like, she's saying all of the same words that I say to my clients. That's really important, especially when you're talking about something that it's not the conversation you always want to have, but it's something that is so essentially important, right? So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I started in insurance about 15 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's, you know, insurance can be sort of boring, but it's a necessary evil, and it can protect you in ways that you don't expect. So from the beginning, I've seen the value in insurance. And then just in the last 2 years, I started this role as a private client advisor at McGriff. And I've really enjoyed building the relationships and establishing my business with McGriff.
So let's talk about the private client advisory role. Who are you working with? Who are your ideal type of clients that you feel like you can help the most?
Yes. So as a private client advisor, I only work with high net worth individuals. So that means my typical client has a primary home of over $1 million. And then they also have things like boats, yachts, airplanes, or they might have a collection of art or jewelry that also needs coverage. And
cars, maybe?
Yes, absolutely. Cars, everyday cars, but also collector vehicles or exotic vehicles. And a lot of my clients have real estate across the United States. So I'm licensed in almost all 50 states.
That is such a value because you know what I find now in Raleigh is that their primary house in Raleigh is the least expensive home that they own.
Yes.
Right? They have homes in California. They might have homes in Colorado. They might have a place in Jackson Hole. But we are migrating all over. And because of how many people have migrated into Raleigh, it's amazing what they're bringing with them.
Absolutely. So another place that's very popular for people from Raleigh is Florida, and then the Northeast, and those other insurance markets or states can be very challenging, but we work with carriers across the country to make sure we have the appropriate coverage to fit their need and protect their investment.
That's so interesting to me because I think, you know, real estate, insurance, everything is just crossing state lines all over the place. And it would seem to me, I don't own real estate or anything outside of North Carolina, but we do have, you know, a place at the beach. And it would seem to be an easy process to have all of your assets protected by one company.
Yes, it is, but it's something that a lot of people miss. So
why is that?
A lot of people, if they go with a local agent in Raleigh and then they say, oh, well, I'm going to buy a vacation home in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, then they go to their local agent and that local agent isn't licensed there. So the agent might refer them to someone in Wyoming, but then you have multiple agents involved in this huge compilation of assets. And when we see that, we frequently see that things will get missed on an umbrella policy. So if you have multiple agents involved, then updating the umbrella or excess liability policy becomes very challenging.
When it comes to umbrella policies, that's one of the best ways to help protect things. Let's talk a little bit about why those are important.
Yes, so financial advisors recommend maxing out your umbrella coverage because it's the least expensive liability coverage that you can buy.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. Obviously, the more assets you add to the umbrella coverage, it will get more expensive, but it is still the least expensive.
I totally get that because that umbrella policy protects everything. What
That's
is an
right.
umbrella policy for those people who might not know the
Sure.
term?
So an umbrella or excess liability policy, it goes over all of your existing policies. So it goes over top of your home, auto, boat insurance, and it provides an extra layer of protection in case you're involved in an accident. So the typical recommendation from a financial advisor is to have an umbrella or excess liability policy to protect your entire net worth.
This episode is brought to you by the Coley Group, the #1 Compass team in the Triangle. And if you're thinking about buying or selling in the Raleigh-Durham area, or you just want to get a feel for the neighborhoods, reach out to us. You know, people call, text, and hop on Zooms with us all the time. So whether you're looking at moving in the next 6 days or 6 months, we would love to help you find your slice of heaven right here in North Carolina. You know, we just recently in North Carolina had the flooding in the mountains. How has that kind of changed how people think about insurance?
Right. So even with my team, we've been focusing on flood coverage for inland homes and not just homes that are at the coast. And so we've written flood coverage here in Raleigh and in the mountains. And so really any home can have flood coverage, and it's relatively inexpensive if you're not in a coastal area, or it can be. There's a lot of factors involved in the premium and the rate.
You know, I have a place at the coast, and we had 5 shingles come off. Water came in for, however long the storm, affected us. It's amazing how much damage 5 shingles coming off of a house can do. And we had to basically redo the entire inside.
Yes, absolutely. And more commonly, flood insurance covers rising waters. So if you think about the event in Asheville, then when the river flooded and rose to the unprecedented levels, that's where the flood insurance coverage would have covered those individuals.
And I do think flood insurance is really important, even when you're inland. And I think people feel like it's so much more expensive than it is, but it's really not. And one thing that we really try to do as a customer service to all of our clients is every single year we make a customer service phone call that says, hey, we want to just make sure that you have that your insurance is up to date and is for the right amounts. And we're specifically speaking about homeowners insurance, but what we encourage our clients to do is do an insurance review. Is that something you would recommend every year?
Yes, absolutely. Especially if you haven't had your insurance reviewed in the last 4 to 5 years. The cost of building materials has increased so much, and that impacts the cost to rebuild your home, which also impacts the amount your home should be covered for. So that would be my biggest message today, would be if you haven't reviewed your insurance, either have your current agent do it or reach out to a new agent to make sure those amounts are set correctly.
I think you should always get a second opinion, right? I think it's really important to know what's out there, because insurance is something, and I'm guilty of this too, right? I don't often think about it, and I'm like, it's just something that you do and you pay it every year and you have it. But reviewing it is super important, and understanding what that replacement value for your home is also really, really important.
Yes, absolutely. And making sure your contents coverage is adequate. And then if you have any special jewelry items or wine collections, that those are also covered.
And that's not something people ask about when they're going through their homeowners insurance, when they're purchasing a house. The insurance agent may not ask about all of those things. So it's really, the onus is on the person, the client, to talk about that, unless you're working with someone who is a strategic advisor. And I think that's where the difference is with what you do. And that's why it really resonates with me, is because you're looking big picture, whether you're looking to get all of that business, or hopeful to get all of that business, you would hope, but it doesn't really matter. What you're
No.
doing is looking at it from a 10,000 foot view and then dialing down, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I do, it's a no obligation review. If you fit my clientele, then I'll review your current coverage. And if you have great coverage and I don't think I can improve upon your premium, or you don't need an additional policy, then I'll tell you, like, your business is good where it is. Come back in a year or two and we can take a look again. But right now you're adequately protected for a good premium.
That's great. It's always great to have someone who is a level set, right? Who can give you the right advice. So why are you so passionate about this?
I'm passionate about insurance because I really enjoy the relationships and the people. And, a lot of people have worked with insurance agents that don't take the time to explain things. So I enjoy educating my clients on what they might need or what kind of coverages they should have in place, and just providing that additional layer of customer service. I really value the clients and those relationships. And, my team also helps through the claims process. So my clients are very appreciative of that, because in a very traumatic or stressful event, they have a trusted voice that they can lean on.
Yeah. No one wants to be in the middle of a tragedy
No.
and not know who you're dealing with. There is so much value in being able to pick up one phone and call you.
Yes.
Because I would imagine your clients have coverage with multiple different carriers, but they
Yes.
all funnel in, right?
That's correct. So we do work with multiple carriers, especially across state lines. And so having a contact person that knows, well, okay, this home is insured by which carrier, and how are we going to reach out and expedite the process and make sure the claims settlement is fair.
How does it benefit your clients for you to be able to go to multiple carriers while still representing them?
Sure. So as a broker, I represent my client and I take their business to market. I'm usually shopping their business with 3 to 4 different carriers. That saves them a lot of time, the client a lot of time, because I'm making sure I'm looking for the best premium to best cover their assets and investments.
So, Katie, you say that no two people require the same insurance. And
Absolutely.
we say that too. We're like, our process is not cookie cutter. It is not the same. It's bespoke. We do it exactly the way the client needs it done.
Right. So one of the things that I do when I first meet with clients, I will schedule 30 minutes to an hour, and I try to meet with my clients in person and just get to know their dreams and what their future goals are. I also work with their financial advisors to make sure things are protected, but I also just enjoy the relationship and getting to know them and making sure all of their assets and investments are protected.
I love that. And I think that is so important for people to see and understand. And the insurance world, it's always changing, right? How do you keep up with what's going on?
Yes, so that's one of the benefits of having a team of 3 individuals. So we are always inundated with carrier information and what's going on in the market, and just staying up to date and reading and doing continuing education. I guess I sort of live and breathe insurance.
You're kind of an insurance junkie.
Yes.
But you have this beautiful personal life too. You are a mom,
Yes.
a kick butt business person, and you grew up in Eastern North Carolina. And I always say, my husband grew up in Eastern North Carolina. All roads lead through Eastern North Carolina.
That's
Tell
right.
me a little bit about that side of your life.
Sure. So I grew up in Greenville, North Carolina, and I came to Raleigh for college a number of years ago that we won't mention. And I've pretty much been here ever since. I have 2 daughters, and my oldest is a sophomore at ECU, and my youngest is in the 8th grade.
Oh, wonderful. So why did you choose Raleigh?
Raleigh is such a booming area. The growth that we're seeing here is exponential, in not only in the real estate industry, but in the job market. It's also very central to everything. I love being at the beach. I love being able to hop on an airplane and, going to California or go skiing out west. So Raleigh just has a lot to offer. it's a big city with a small city feel.
Have you loved raising your family here?
I love it. There's so many unique opportunities here, so it's been a great experience.
Well, Katie, thank you so much. Where can everyone find you?
So you have my contact information, but I'm on LinkedIn. It's Katie McLean at McGriff, recently acquired by Marsh McLennan. And McGriff also has a website where you can find my information.
And we will link that down below in the comments so that you guys can find her, because listen, being properly insured is one of the most important things you can do as you begin to build wealth. And we talk about building wealth a lot on this show, but when it comes to building that, you have to protect it. And the way that you protect it is with insurance. And, my husband and I kind of laugh. We're probably the two most overinsured people on the planet, but it's really important to us to make sure that nothing catastrophic happens, that there's not a car accident, that our house doesn't, burn, and who knows? It could be anything, right? So I hope that you loved everything you heard today, and you learned so much about Katie and McGriff and the way that they do business, and you see that it aligns exactly with the way we do business. So if you're looking to have your insurance reviewed, if you're looking to have a great conversation with someone, please reach out to Katie and give her an opportunity to take a look at that. I promise you won't be disappointed. And we appreciate you so much for tuning into the Best of Raleigh, where we talk to the people, the places, the businesses that you need to know in Raleigh, and this is absolutely one of them. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we drop a new episode on Friday on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next Best of Raleigh.